Ross, what did you guys as a staff learn the other night about this situation that you're all in and maybe what you need to tweak or do better?
I mean, we learned that we're all in it together, and it was obviously it's always galvanizing when you face a little bit of adversity with Coach Mack out and stuff, and you got to come together. So I think that's a message that we all felt as a staff, as a team, getting to have that opportunity to come together for that and stuff. Obviously, we faced some challenges the other night and learned we have a lot of growth to be made. We got to keep growing in a lot of areas, and so those are things we're addressing.
Ross, what your vision of what you want this offense to look like? How close are you guys from being there, or are you still pretty far off?
I would say, I mean, you give us 1 year. There'll still be growth to be made at the end of 1 year. 3 years, still be growth to be made at the end of 3 years. It's a never-ending target in the distance that you want to keep striving for in terms of getting better at it. But I think like right now, from a spacing perspective, would be what I would say I'm the most pleased with. And as a staff, we're the most pleased with like our players' commitment to just their spacing. All right, constantly we talk about like we can't guard each other out there when we're in offense, and when you have bad spacing, you spend time guarding each other, right? And so like I think our spacing, I give us an A+ right now, B+, right? That's kind of pretty good. There's a few errors every once in a while. Our commitment to our pace throughout the course of the game and throughout the course of like in the face of fatigue or frustration, which are the two things that can like hinder your commitment to pace at times, that needs to continue to get better. But I would say that was better than we saw like in the red-white scrimmage or in moments in the West Georgia game. I thought it was better the other night. Granted, it sure helps when we get better stops, you know what I mean, defensively. So those two things marry together a lot of the time. Last piece I'd say is now you get into the half court, right? And like we've been talking about as a team is like we want our offense no different than we want it fast up and down. We want it fast in the half court from one action to the next, like a metronome. You know what I mean? A fast metronome, right? Where it's bop, 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 not bop, bop, awkward silence. You know what I mean? Like that thing's got to move, and so it's we got to keep growing in that area. That's the biggest one right now, I'd say.
So another question. This is not about offense, but Matt Cross, he was already committed here when you got the job to come here. He admitted at Miami he was pretty much just a spot-up shooter. When did you guys kind of realize, hey, he can be much more of that and he needs to be much more of that for this team? Because obviously I think we saw it the other night against Southern.
Yeah, I mean, throughout the course of the summer, you see that as soon as he touched down here and stuff and we get to playing and he's injected into the way we play and stuff, you saw his skill set flourish in a lot of ways. And Matt, more than anything, is a tough, hard-nosed competitor that plays hard. And it showed up. He saved us in a lot of areas the other night. But, I mean, that guy can shoot it. He can make plays off the bounce. He passes it pretty well, has a good feel for the game and stuff, and he's only going to get better.
Did you, when you look at the other night, obviously you're going to make mistakes in an opening game. You're going to, that kind of stuff. How you were talking about offense, but defensively, offensively, I mean, was some of it jitters, you think, early on in that game? I mean, do you chalk any of that up to it, or when you watched the film, what did you guys not like?
Yeah, who knows if it was jitters? I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm sure it was different for each guy out there. I'm sure a couple guys felt butterflies, maybe some didn't at all. You know what I mean? But in terms of just what we saw on film that needed to be better, again, a lot of just our baseline expectations, like our commitment and urgency to getting back in defensive transition and constantly making teams play 5-on-5 basketball versus us, not being caught in outnumbered situations where they have 4-on-3s, 5-on-4s and stuff. Much what we want to do the other way offensively. Our urgency wasn't where we needed to be in that regards. Once we got them in the half court, our baseline expectation of being able to guard the ball and be communicative off the ball and load it up, it's got to continue to be better. Goes without saying, like, a guy walks out of here with 8 offensive rebounds, there's an issue. And we're going to face some big dudes this year. So that's an area we got to fix.
Matt McGavick, Sports Illustrated. Coach Mack at some point saying that because of the pace of play and the style, that there would be a certain amount of turnovers he'd be willing to live with. And I take it 19 is probably not that number. Was that more so indicative of the pressure that Southern was pushing on, or maybe just the lack of execution on the offensive end, or maybe first game jitters, like Jody said? What do you kind of chalk that number up to?
Mm-hmm. We'll take 19 turnovers if we can have 90 possessions. It's more about the turnover percentage. You know what I mean? I wish our possession count was a little bit higher, but I think the turnovers, that number, that percentage is unacceptable in terms of the amount of times we turned it over for the amount of possessions we had. And that's got to keep getting better. When you look at where our turnovers came throughout the course of the game, actually very few of them came in the course of transition. A small percentage of them did, all right? We had 4 of those come out of getting the ball slapped out of our hands. I mean, just like we have possession of the ball and we're getting our ball touched by the other team because of a lack of ball protection, right? We had, I think, 3 on baseline out of bounds that we got to be better on execution there. We had another 4 on bad pass execution, and one of those I know did come in transition, where we just kind of read the situation wrong and threw it out of bounds. Other 3 are in the half court, and I think what I've always found, like, once you get used to playing at pace, like, you're actually dealing with less pressure, and so, like, it should afford you to have less turnovers in that regards, as long as you're able to play with a clear head and not play tired and fatigued. You know what I mean? It's when you face stuff in the when you play with no pace in the half court and in the full court, all of a sudden the defense gets to build out to you and not be constantly building back just to protect the basket, where now you're dealing with more ball pressure. You're dealing with more heat in passing lanes, right? You're dealing with more resistance. And so when we run slow action and that metronome slows all the way down and we let the defense load up on us, that's where a lot of our turnovers happen. I mean, and we got to be better there, moving from one action to the next. But yeah, we got to improve all around when it comes to those turnovers.
You're playing a team that made a bunch of threes the other night, scored a lot of points. What have you seen with Furman and kind of the expectation of obviously what they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, they got a really good group, and they got a veteran group. They had a group that's been playing together for a while here. I know they got one transfer that's in the rotation and 1 or 2 freshmen that might be playing, but they got a really solid group, and, man, they shot the ball well the other night, and they've been a good shooting team for a really long time. Yeah, I mean, on the other side of that, they got a killer in Mike Bothwell, who's a paint, just like he gets in there. He gets in there, he makes plays in the paint. He's a relentless driver. So, yeah, we got our work cut out for us, and they challenge you in ways in terms of, like, what they do off the ball with cutting. I would argue they're one of the best cutting teams in America. How they cut off the ball and they move off the ball. So our alertness off the ball is going to be at a really high level.
Since we got a chance to talk to you back when you got the job until now, how have you adjusted to this new role in this? One of the guys, I can't remember, I think it was Malik, said you're just a junkie and you're always, whenever they're there, you're there, and kind of thing. How have you adjusted to this role?
I think great. I love it. It's fun. I don't know too much else to it. Obviously, the college game is different in so many regards to the NBA, the G League, international FIBA hoops, international pro hoops. They're all different. There's all little things you adjust to along the way and stuff. The city of Louisville is a different place than I've lived in before and stuff. So, like, I think there's a lot of things you learn along the way. You're teaching a different age group that's majority 18 to 23 years old and stuff, and sometimes they're just thinking about that quiz that they got to knock out. You know what I mean? And so there's any amount of little challenges that come along, but I've had a great time adjusting to it, and it's the challenges, the obstacles, the way. It helps you grow and learn and come up with new things and get creative.
One last from me. You guys announced the signing class this morning. Kind of your thoughts on as a staff, excited about those 2 players, and can you tell us a little bit about Frederick King and kind of how you found him?
Yeah, I mean, we're hyped about the class we've got right now, and we've known about Tay Davis for a really long time, and he's going to be great here. Tay's obviously a really, really solid player and only going to get better with his length, his size, his athleticism and stuff, and going to be able to play multiple positions. And for the way we play, we're really excited about Tay coming in. Fred's an exciting prospect and stuff, and I was lucky enough to go down to Mexico to the NBA Academy games down there, where the NBA Academy Latin America, NBA Academy Africa, and then the Skills Factory from Atlanta all played. And Fred, within the first 5 minutes of the first game, just absolutely stood out in terms of just like his potential, how he plays, the passion he plays with, how he worked on the floor, how he interacted with teammates. It was awesome to see. This guy has every tool physically and from a mindset perspective with his work ethic, right, to have a pretty damn good career here and beyond that. So we're really excited about it. Fred's a special dude.
Thank you, Ross.
Cool. Thank you, guys.